ओम अज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानञ्जनशलाखया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः। गुरवे गौरचन्द्राय राधिकाय तदालये कृष्णाय कृष्णभक्ताय तद्भक्ताय नमो नमः। नम ओम विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदांत स्वामिनेति नामिने। नमस्ते सरस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देश तारिणे। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। आनंद लीलामय विग्रहाय हेमावदिव्य छवि सुंदराय तस्मै महाप्रेम रस प्रदाय चैतन्य चंद्राय नमो नमस्ते। चैतन्य चंद्राय नमो नमस्ते। चैतन्य चंद्राय नमो नमस्ते। Hare Krishna. Again, I would want to thank the organizers of Parthasarathi Foundation for this new initiative of starting Harikatha in English. I think if I remember it right, all the while we had it in Hindi, but I'm very happy that we are now also having it in English. We're just increasing, trying to attract more and more audience. So I thank Parthasarathi Foundation. I congratulate all the devotees for this new endeavor. May we have more and more speakers who are much more qualified than I am, and may they all drown all the devotees in the nectar. And finally, I would also want to beg and pray for the best wishes and blessings of all the devotees present here. Kindly pray for me, kindly bless me, so that I can speak some favorable words in the glorification of today's topic. Please accept my very humble obeisances. Vancha kalpatarobhyascha kripa sindhubhya eva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. And also, before we get going, as we all know, this is the most auspicious month of Kartik. Just like in the Western calendar, we see there are 12 months and it ends with the month of December. Similarly, in the Vedic calendar, the last month is called as Kartik. Kartik is the last month of the Vedic calendar. And just like Purushottam is the month of Sri Krishna, Krishna's name is called as Purushottam. Uttam means best and Purusha means personality. So Krishna is the best among personalities. So Purushottam month, which comes roughly around once in 2.5, 3 years, it's the month of Sri Krishna. And likewise, the month of Kartik is the month of Srimati Radharani. This month of Kartik, the vrat that devotees take, whether it's the vrat of chanting more, whether it's the vrat of hearing more, or whether it's the vrat of not eating sweets, whether it's the vrat of eating only once, and different vrats that devotees take. This is also called as Urja Vrat. Why? Because Urja basically means Shakti. It's called as Urja Vrat. Urja means Shakti. And Srimati Radharani, one name of Srimati Radharani is Urjeshwari. She's called as Urjeshwari Sri Radha. Because whatever Shakti that Krishna has, it comes from Srimati Radharani. Radha Purna Shakti, Krishna Purna Shaktiman, Dui Vastu Bhedanai Shastrera Praman. Srila Kaviraj Goswami says, Radha Purna Shakti. Radharani is the embodiment of Shakti. While Krishna Purna Shaktiman, Krishna is a Shaktiman. And naturally we see, Shaktiman gets his Shakti from the personality, that is Sri Radha. When Radharani is there with Krishna, Krishna is a hero. But when Radharani is not there with Krishna, Krishna is zero. Krishna is nothing. So Krishna gets all the Shakti from Radharani. Whatever Krishna does in Vrindavan, it is only by his Shakti, that is Sri Radha. Similarly, she is called as Urjeshwari. Urja means Shakti. So whatever vrat that we take in this month, or whatever vrat we take in any of the months, whatever Shakti that we get to do devotional service, This comes from Radharani. If we are able to chant 16 rounds for many years, or if we are there in the association of like-minded devotees, where is that Shakti coming from? That Shakti comes from Radharani, because she's Urjeshwari. Without her sanction, no one can even start the process of bhakti, leave alone doing it for many consecutive years. So we offer our prayers to Srimati Radharani. We beg at her lotus feet so that whatever vrat we have taken, let us all try to do that vrat to the best of our abilities, because generally it is seen that the enthusiasm is sky high in the first 2 days. The first 2 days, the chanting is, we chant a lot of rounds, we follow all the vrat that is possible. But by the time it is day 25 and day 26, it is punar mushiko bhava, back to square one. We are not able to maintain that vrat. So let us pray to Srimati Radharani that whatever vrat we have taken, we are able to do it with the same intensity, with the same dedication, and not just for the month of Kartik, but let us continue this vrat for even the rest of the months. So we all collectively offer our obeisances to Srimati Radharani and beg for our best wishes, prayers, and blessings so that we can attempt to start today's topic of discussion. Srimati Radharani ki jai, Shri Kartik Maas ki jai. So when the devotees reached out for today's topic, I was in two minds as to what am I supposed to speak. Because we see there is Bhagavatam, there is Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, there is Bhagavad Gita, and of course, this is the month of Kartik. So there are so many topics of discussion. But then finally, I chose this particular topic. Of course, this is a monumental task to finish the whole section in one class, because just as information, as a part of information, my revered spiritual master, Shri Srimad Radhagovinda Maharaj, has spent 35 classes on just this one topic. If we see on ISKCON Desire, 35 classes are spent just on this one topic. So we can imagine the depth that this section has of Uddhav coming to Vrindavan. So naturally, I will not be able to cover everything. And mostly our discussion today is just going to be an overview. We will just try to skim the surface. We will just try to set the scene as to who are the personalities and why was Uddhav sent to Vrindavan. We see Srila Sanatan Goswami. Who is Sanatan Goswami? Srila Sanatan Goswami is the Sambandha Acharya. He is the Acharya who helps us, or who sets the relationship with the Supreme Lord. Our relationship with the Supreme Lord is exemplified by this personality called as Sripad Sanatan Goswami. He is the Sambandha Acharya. So Sripad Sanatan Goswami, in his magnum opus called as the Brihad Bhagavatamrita, in that scripture, Sripad Sanatan Goswami gives a hierarchy of many devotees as to which devotee is superior. Of course, this is not all inclusive. There are so many devotees in the Shastras, but Sanatan Goswami just randomly picks some devotees whom he feels are very important and presents a hierarchy in this book called as Brihad Bhagavatamrita. He starts off by the personality called as Indra. Now you see, Indra is a hero in the pages of the Srimad Bhagavatam. He is a hero, but not hero in the positive sense. He is the anti-hero. He is the anti-hero of Govardhan Leela. And not just Govardhan Leela. If you see in all the sections of the Srimad Bhagavatam, we have Indra. We start from the 4th canto. In the 4th canto, Indra is such a personality who gets envious of the Supreme Lord. In the 4th canto, he gets envious of Prithu Maharaj, who is an expansion of the Supreme Lord. In the 5th canto, Indra again gets envious of Rishabdev Maharaj, who is again the Supreme Lord. In the 6th canto, he offends his Guru Maharaj, that is Brahaspati. He later kills Vishwarup. He later kills Dadichi. And finally, he reaches the epitome by killing Vritrasur. This is canto 6. In canto 7, he is about to kill Kayadu, because in Kayadu's womb is Prahlad. So he is waiting when Prahlad is born and he can kill the mother and the child. Again in the 8th canto, he offends Durvasa Rishi, because we see Durvasa Rishi gave a garland, and he took the garland and he put the garland on the neck of Airavat, and Airavat crushed it. So again, Vaishnava Aparadha. And again, after all this, he again does the Govardhan Lila in the 10th canto. So Indra is a personality who's coming under the category of Hum Nahi Sudrenge. How much ever we hear Shastra, Hum Nahi Sudrenge. He's always like a pendulum, keeps swinging back and forth from a gentleman to a mental man to a gentleman to a mental man. Hum nahi sudrenge. I won't improve. So Indra comes into that category. So Indra is a devotee, but he is not pure devotee. So that is why Sanatana Goswami starts with Indra. But greater than Indra is Brahmaji. Why? Because Brahmaji is the Vidhata. He's the creator. Brahmaji has created everything. And he came from the navel of the Supreme Lord. So greater than Indra is Brahmaji. But greater than that Brahma, Sripad Sanatana Goswami says, is Lord Shiva. Because Lord Shiva, we see, has a characteristic. His tongue is always vibrating Ram, 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 Ram. Lord Shiva is always chanting Ram Nam. Just remembering a beautiful point that Srila Guru Maharaj made in one class. He was speaking about the Samudra Manthan pastime. And we see in the Samudra Manthan pastime, the first product that came out is halahal, that is poison. And now this poison started spreading in all directions. So the Supreme Lord Ajita, along with all the demigods, they went to Shiva. And they asked Lord Shiva that, would you do the honors? Will you be in a position to drink this poison? And Lord Shiva immediately accepted. Because it came from the Supreme Lord, he immediately accepted. Now, what was everyone desiring? They were desiring peace. They wanted to put the situation under rest. They wanted peace. And in Hindi or in Sanskrit, to put things under rest is called as Vishram. So now, very beautiful, our Acharya's comment, when Lord Shiva had poison in his hand, what is poison called? It is called as Vish. Now, what did they want? They wanted Vishram. So there was Vish from outside, but there was Ram Nam from inside. Vish from outside, Ram Nam from inside. Vish from outside and Ram Nam from inside. And our Acharya said, because of Ram Nam, because of constant chanting of Lord Shiva, even the poison was coming from outside, he could put things under rest. He could put things under rest because there is constant chanting of Harinam. So there our Acharya is very beautifully comment that even for us, the situation is same. Because when we go out, there is constant poison in the form of fights, envy, arrogance, jealousy. There is bootlicking of our boss. There are project deadlines. These are all like different poisons. But our Acharyas teach us through the Samudra Manthan pastime that if someone is like Lord Shiva, always chanting Ram, 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 then even if Vish comes from outside, the Ram Nam from inside can counteract it. And there will be Vishram. There will be complete peace in our life. So beautiful. So we start with Indra, but greater than Indra is Brahmaji. But greater than that Brahma is Lord Shiva, who helped all the devotees, including the demons, in the Samudra Manthan pastime. But greater than Lord Shiva is Prahlad Maharaj. Because Prahlad Maharaj is a Mahajan. Swayambhu Narada Shambhu Kumara Kapila Manu Prahlada Janaka Bhishma Bali Vayasakhi Vayam. The Srimad Bhagavatam describes there are 12 Mahajans. Swayambhu, that is Brahmaji. Narada, that is Narad Muni. Swayambhu, Narada, Shambhu, that is Lord Shiva. Kumara, 4 Kumaras. 5th, Kapila, the son of Mother Devahuti. Kumara, Kapila, Manu. We have Swayambhuva Manu and so many other Manus. And 7th is Prahlad. It's very interesting that Prahlad is seen in the 7th canto. And even in this list of Mahajans, his number comes in number 7. Of course, there is no connection, but it's just a transcendental coincidence. In Bhagavatam also, he comes in 7th canto. And the list of Mahajans also is like number 7. So Prahlad Maharaj is a Mahajan. And he is put above Lord Shiva for the fact that because of Prahlad's bhakti, the Lord came in a form that was never seen before. Na bhuto, na bhavishyati. For there are so many devotees around, but for all of them, the Lord comes in a form that is seen. He comes in a 400 form, or he comes in the form of Krishna. We see Dhruva also was young, but for Dhruva, the Lord came in a 400 form. That form was seen. But it is only for Prahlad, the Lord came in a form that was never seen before. Satyam vidhatum nijabhritya bhashitam vyaptim cha bhuteshu akhileshu chatmanaha adrishyatamat bhutarupa mudvahan stambe sabhayam tad mragam namanusham. Canto 7, text chapter 8, text 17, Srimad Bhagavatam. This verse is so beautiful, dear devotees, that this verse has the whole of Narsingha Leela in just in one verse. In one verse, the whole of Narsingha Leela is described. 7, 8, 17. So it's worth memorizing. So greater than Lord Shiva is Prahlad. But greater than that Prahlad, Sanatan Goswami says, is Hanuman. Because Hanuman is in the mood of Dasya, always in the mood of serving the Supreme Lord. We see in Ramayana, it was Hanuman who was constantly helping Sri Ram, whether it is taking the ring across and presenting it to Maya Sita, or helping Sri Ram fight the demons. Hanuman was always constantly present. And not just in Treta Yuga, but even in Dwapar Yuga. When Krishna advented, we see Hanuman was present in the flag. During Mahabharat pastime, Hanuman is still present in the flag. And it's so interesting that Hanuman in the previous age, in Treta Yuga, during Ram's pastime, he held such a prominent position. He was the main personality in fighting. But in the next incarnation, he gets a position which is so insignificant. People don't even notice him. The main attention, the center of attraction is Arjuna. Hanuman is there somewhere up. But Hanuman doesn't say that, my dear Lord, in previous incarnation, you gave so much importance to me. And in this incarnation, you are not giving any importance. He doesn't crib. He doesn't complain with the Lord. Which means Hanuman is teaching all of us a lesson. That service means when our desires are one with the Lord's desire. Hanuman's desire is one with the Lord's desire. He doesn't have an independent desire. When we have a desire that is independent of the Lord, that is no longer service. That is self-interest. But when our desire is one with the Lord's desire, like Hanuman, ready to accept the biggest position in Ram's pastimes and ready to accept a very small position, that in the flag in Shri Krishna's pastimes. So always in the mood of serving. Hanuman ji hamesha atur rehte hai seva ke liye. He's always ready to serve. So Indra, greater than Indra is Brahma ji, greater than Brahma is Lord Shiva, greater than Lord Shiva is Prahlad, but greater than Prahlad is Hanuman. Greater than Hanuman are the Pandavas, because the Pandavas are in the mood of Sakhya, in the mood of friendship, very dear to the Lord. But greater than the Pandavas are the Yadus, the Yaduvamshis, because the Yadus are also in Sakhya, but they are more intimate than the Pandavas. And in the Yadus, dear devotees, the highest, the zenith is Uddhava. Pandavas are close, but above the Pandavas are the Yadus, but in the Yadus, the highest is Uddhava. And above Uddhava, there are only two personalities. There is only two personalities who are present above Uddhava, the Gopis and Srimati Radharani. So this is the beautiful hierarchy Sripad Sanatan Goswami gives. Just to reiterate, we have Indra, Brahmaji, Lord Shiva. After Lord Shiva is Prahlad. We have Hanuman. We have Pandavas. We have the Yadus. But the pinnacle of the Yadus is Uddhava. Above Uddhava are the Gopis, Vrindavan, and finally Srimati Radharani. So the reason we are setting the scene is to understand where is Uddhava positioned. He is not someone who is there just as a normal devotee. He is not a floating devotee. He is not some normal devotees walking on the street. He is so exalted that he is considered just after the Braja Gopis. Very high position. So we find that Akrura was asked by Kamsa Maharaj to go to Vrindavan, because all this while the demons were being sent to Vrindavan. And we see, especially for those devotees who are from India, at some point of the time, for those devotees who have followed cricket, not that we have to follow it right now, but those devotees who have stayed back in India and have followed cricket, you see, in cricket or in any sport, there is something called as home ground advantage. Now, just to give an example, if suppose India is playing Australia in India, who will win? India will win. Why? Because home ground advantage. Similarly, if India is playing Australia in Australia, who will win? Australia will win. Why? Home ground advantage, which means there is something called as home ground advantage, wherein that team or that personality has the maximum power. He's invincible in that area. Similarly, when demons were being sent to Vrindavan, Krishna has the home ground advantage because Vrindavan is Krishna's place. So naturally, when all the demons were coming to Vrindavan, Krishna could easily kill them. It was very easy for him. He had the home ground advantage. So now Kamsa thought to himself, let me do one thing. Let me get Krishna and Balaram to Mathura, because Mathura is my place. If I get Krishna and Balaram to Mathura, I will have home ground advantage. So he called upon Akrura. He said, Akrura, do something. Go to Vrindavan, go to Braj Dham and get these two brothers here. In the pretext of a bow sacrifice, get both of them here. Once they come here, I will have the home ground advantage and I can easily overpower both these brothers. So Akrura was asked to go. Now, who is this personality, Akrura? We all the time we hear about Akrura. Who is Akrura? For this, we have to go into another history. In the place called as Kashi, we see it is famous for Kashi Vishwanath. Kashi में किन्हीं की चलती है तो सिर्फ विश्वनाथ जी की चलती है. He is the Lord. Vishwanath ji is the Lord there. So once the king of Kashi was in a dilemma. And what was the dilemma? The dilemma was there was complete drought in Kashi. There was no water absolutely. The citizens were going to the king of Kashi and they were requesting him, there's no water. We are dying out of thirst. Do something. But the king was not able to do anything. Complete drought. So finally, the king got to know about a personality by the name Swapalka. He got to know about a sage by the name Swapalka. And now this sage was asked to come to Kashi. And when this sage Swapalka, he walked into Kashi, the moment he stepped into Kashi, it started pouring like anything. There were torrential rains. Like here in Seattle, on Saturday, that is 2 days from now, there is a cyclone that's expected. It's the day of Maha Harinam. Like in most temples, we find October 23rd is the Maha Harinam for the Bangladesh protest. And interestingly, here in Seattle, there is a bomb cyclone. There's going to be heavy rains and wind that is expected. But nonetheless, devotees are enthusiastic to go out and chant and dance in Mahaprabhu's Sankirtan moment. So similarly, here in Kashi, there was no rain. But the moment Swapalka walked inside, he stepped his feet. It started pouring like anything. So the king was so excited. He got so happy that he wanted to give a gift to Swapalka. He said, I want to give you something. Ask for anything that you want. I will give you. And Swapalka, when he heard this, he said, oh, I don't want anything. I'm just selfless. I just came here. I don't want anything. But the king, he was insisting. He said, ask for something. I will give you whatever you want. And finally, the king himself decided. He decided to give his daughter in marriage to Swapalka. The king's daughter was married off to Swapalka, and their son was Akrura. So his name was Akrura. Krura means cruelty. Just like in Hindi, we say krur. So same, cruelty. So Akrura, he is that personality. When he is present in a place, nothing cruel can happen. Nothing bad can happen when Akrura is present. And where does he get this quality from? He gets this quality from his father, who's Swapalka. Because Swapalka, when he walked into Kashi, all the bad omens that were there were completely destroyed. So like father, like son, Akrura got this quality of spreading auspiciousness from his father, Swapalka. So that's the history for Akrura. And likewise, Akrura is also related to Krishna from Vasudeva Maharaj's side. So there is some connection. There is some family connection. He is related to Krishna from Vasudeva Maharaj's side. So Kamsa on purpose picked Akrura. It was like a strategic move. He told Akrura that if you go to Vrindavan, Krishna and Balaram will not be able to refuse. So you go to Braj. So naturally Akrura, he went to Vrindavan and he requested both the brothers to come to Mathura. And when both the brothers were requested, when they came to Mathura and they killed Kamsa Maharaj, after that we find that Krishna and Balaram, they go to Avanti to learn under Sandipani Muni. Now who is Sandipani Muni? Sandipani Muni is the son of Paurnamasi Devi. So in Vrindavan, there are two personalities we have to always remember. If we desire to enter into Krishna's Vraja pastimes, we need the letter of recommendation. Like for initiation, we have letter of recommendation, disciples course, IDC. Similarly, to enter that Vrindavan, we need letter of recommendation. So it is parampara. Whatever we have in ISKCON, this is parampara. In the spiritual world also, we need recommendation. And this recommendation is from two personalities. First is Paurnamasi Devi. Sorry, I'm just under the weather a little. So the first is Paurnamasi Devi. And the second is Vrinda Devi, Tulasi Maharani. Without the recommendation of these two personalities, it is very difficult to enter Krishna's Vraja pastimes. And we see it is Prabhupada's master plan. Every day in the morning program, Prabhupada has kept Tulasi Aarti. Why? Because by chanting, by reciting her glories every single day, we will very soon get her recommendation. Because without her recommendation, we will not enter Vraja pastimes. Because we see Vrindavan, Vrinda itself means Tulasi. So in order to enter her forest, we have to get her recommendation. So Tulasi first, and second is Paurnamasi Devi. Paurnamasi Devi is also the orchestrator of Krishna's Vraja pastimes. She decides. Paurnamasi Devi is none other than Yogamaya. She decides where Krishna has to do what pastime, where Radharani and Krishna will meet, what are the impediments Radharani will face in the form of Jatila and Kutila, and so on and so forth. So Paurnamasi, who is staying in Vraj, her son is Sandipani Muni. And Sandipani Muni's son, dear devotees, is Madhumangal. That is the connection. So Madhumangal lives in Vrindavan with his grandmother, Paurnamasi Devi, while the father is out in Avanti teaching different Gurukul children. So that is the connection. So Krishna in Vrindavan is close to Madhumangal. And naturally, he picks the father of Madhumangal, that is Sandipani Muni, to take instruction. So that is the connection. We see Shastra is very beautifully aligned. Nothing happens by coincidence. Krishna's friend in Braj is Madhumangal. So naturally, Krishna goes to Avanti to take instructions, to take Siksha, to learn under Sandipani Muni, who is the father of Madhumangal. And we see in 64 days, Krishna learns 64 transcendental arts in 64 days. And after learning those 64 transcendental arts, Krishna comes back to Mathura. And when he comes back to Mathura, he meets a personality by the name Uddhav. That's the first time Krishna meets Uddhav. After learning all the transcendental activities, transcendental arts, transcendental qualities, he comes back to Mathura and meets Uddhav. Now, all the while, you see, our title is also Uddhav is visiting Vrindavan. So we have to understand who is Uddhav. Who is this personality we are talking about? And we find in Canto 10, chapter 46, text 1, Srila Shukadev Goswami, he very beautifully speaks about the personality called as Uddhav. Who is Uddhav? So we will see this very beautiful verse. Sri Shuka Uvacha Vrishninam pravara mantri Krishnasya daita sakha Shishyo Brahaspate Sakshad Uddhavo Buddhisattamaha. 1046-1. This is just one chapter prior to the Brahmar Geet. Chapter 47 is Brahmar Geet, and this is chapter 46. So who is Uddhav? We start with the first line. Vrishninam pravara mantri. So when the Vrishnis would have a problem, they would go to a mantri. Mantri is nothing but that personality who gives mantras to resolve a problem. So when the Vrishnis would have a problem, they would go to mantri. When the mantris would have a problem, they would go to a vara mantri. And when the vara mantris would have a problem, they would go to a pravara mantri. Who's Uddhav? Vrishninam pravara mantri. He's a pravara mantri. So beautiful. When the Vrishnis have a problem, they go to mantri. When the mantris have a problem, they go to a vara mantri. When the vara mantri has a problem, he goes to pravara mantri. Uddhav is a pravara mantri. Second line, Krishnasya daita sakha, and he is Krishna's very dear friend. Now we see, if I say that I want to meet Narendra Modi, there's nothing very fascinating. There are so many people in this world who may be wanting to meet Narendra Modi. But if I say Narendra Modi wants to meet me, that's a big statement. That's a big statement. If I say I want to meet Narendra Modi, nothing very fascinating. But if I say Narendra Modi of all the people wants to meet me, this is a big statement. Similarly, Shukadev Goswami says, Uddhav's friend is not Krishna. Krishna's friend is Uddhav. Krishnasya daita sakha. If it is said Uddhav's friend is Krishna, it's a normal statement. But here, Krishna is calling Uddhav his friend. My friend is Uddhav, Krishna is saying. Krishnasya daita sakha. Very big statement. So Vrishninam pravara mantri Krishnasya daita sakha and Shishyo Brahaspate Sakshad. Now Brahaspati, who is the guru of the demigods, he has a particular format of teaching. Brahaspati teaches only one personality. He teaches one personality. That one personality teaches another 5. That 5 teach another 10. And that 10 teach another 15. But Brahaspati teaches only one. But for Uddhav, Sakshat Brahaspati Shishya. Brahaspati sat down and taught Uddhav. Just see the position of Uddhav, dear devotees. Not a normal personality. Brahaspati is personally sitting down and hand holding. He's holding the hand of Uddhav and personally teaching him. And now if this is fascinating, there is another point. Brahaspati only accepts demigod disciples. Uddhav is the only human disciple of Brahaspati. There is no track record of Brahaspati accepting any human disciple. But Uddhav is the only human disciple. So Vrishninam pravara mantri Krishnasya daita sakha Shishyo Brahaspate Sakshat and Uddhavo Buddhisattama. This is why Uddhav is very intelligent. This is why he's so erudite. And this is why in the hierarchy that we discussed earlier, Sanatan Goswami places him just below the Braja Gopis and Srimati Radharani. So very high class personality. And for such a personality, the Supreme Lord, he says that, hey Uddhav, will you please go to Vrindavan? In the 3rd verse, we find the Supreme Lord, he turns to Uddhav. When he comes to Mathura, he turns to Uddhav and says, hey Uddhav, Gacha Uddhava Vrajam Saumyam Pitruna Pritimavaha Gopinam Madvyogadim Matsandeshar Vimochaya. Krishna turns towards Uddhav and says, hey Uddhav, Gacha Uddhava Vrajas Saumya. Hey Uddhav, Gacha. Gacha means Gama Gacha, means to go. Gacha Uddhava Vrajas Saumya. Hey Saumya. So Krishna is addressing Uddhav as Saumya. Why? Because Saumya comes from the root word Soma, which means moon. So Krishna is addressing Uddhav as moon. Hey moon, oh moon, will you please go to Vrindavan? Now, why is Krishna addressing Uddhav as a moon? And it's so beautiful. Our predecessor Acharyas answers this question by saying the moon has certain characteristics. First, the moon dispels the external heat. We see after the morning sun, it's the moon who dispels the external heat. By the cooling rays of the moon, the external heat is completely taken away. Similarly, hey Uddhav, you are like the moon. May your presence in Vrindavan expel the external heat of separation the Brajavasis have from me. Just like the moon dispels the external heat after the morning sun, similarly, hey Saumya, hey Uddhav, may your presence in Vrindavan dispel the external heat of separation that the Brajavasis have from me. This is the first reason. Second, the moon is instrumental in providing taste. The moon is instrumental in providing juice for the crops. And it is because of those crops, our internal heat, our hunger is dissipated. We see, if the crops have any taste, it is because of the moon. And that moon is helping us relieve us from the internal heat of hunger. Similarly, Krishna says, hey Saumya, hey Uddhav, may your words be like that moon that dispels the internal heat of separation that the Brajagopis are facing. The Brajagopis are an internal heat also. Is the internal heat of separation. At the same time, there is external separation. So Krishna says, may your words act like the cooling moon rays that will dispel the internal heat of separation that the Brajagopis are having. And third and the most important, we see the moon takes light from the sun and showers it on the earth. Similarly, Krishna says, hey Uddhav, Uddhav is called the moon because Uddhav, like the moon, is taking light, that is the message from Krishna, who's like the sun. Krishna Surya Sama Maya Hai Andakar, Jaha Krishna Taha Nai Mayera Adhikar. Krishna is called the sun. So just like the moon takes light from the sun and showers it on the earth, similarly, Uddhav, who's Saumya, who's the moon, is taking light. That is, he's taking the message from Krishna, who's like the sun, and showering it upon the Vrajavasis. Just like the moon showers it upon the earth, similarly, Uddhav is showering that message upon the Vrajavasis. So beautiful. 3 reasons why Uddhav is addressed as Saumya. And in the second line, we see Krishna says, Pitrur now Pritim Avaha. Hey Uddhav, go and give this message to our parents. Now you see there is an apparent contradiction here. Uddhav's parents are not Nanda and Yashoda. Krishna's parents are Nanda and Yashoda. So then why is Krishna saying Pitrur now, which means go and pacify our parents? And here our Acharyas very beautifully they describe by saying Krishna is telling Uddhav, hey Uddhav, don't think that Nanda and Yashoda are just my parents. Go and pacify them as if they're your parents too. You see, if Uddhav starts considering Nanda and Yashoda as his parents, he will speak his heart out. He will try his level best to convince the Brajavasis. So Krishna is saying, hey Uddhav, go and speak to Nanda and Yashoda as if they are your parents too. Nanda and Yashoda are not just my parents, they are your parents too. Speak in that way wherein you consider them your parents too. Pitrur now Pritim Ahava. Externally, Nanda and Yashoda are not the parents of Uddhav, but Krishna is asking Uddhav to start considering them so that he can speak his heart out. And Gopi Nam Mad Viyogadim. Hey Uddhav, the gopis are burning in separation from me. And Mad Sandesha Vimoche. Go and give my message as it is. Yatharup. Go and give my message as it is. Hey Uddhav, don't speak your mind. Because if you speak your mind, the gopis will not be able to understand. Mat Sandesha Vimochaya. Krishna is making it very explicit. You just go there as a postman. Take my message and give it as it is. The gopis will understand. Mat Sandesha Vimochan. Please don't speak your mind, but speak whatever I am giving. So this is the reference for as it is. We see Prabhupada says Bhagavad Gita as it is. So here Krishna is originally saying it, Mat Sandesha Vimochaya, as it is. Speak whatever I am giving. Don't modify it. So we see in these two verses, the identity of Uddhav is described and the instruction that Uddhav is getting from the Supreme Lord is also very beautifully described. Now question here may arise. Krishna is asking Uddhav to go, okay, understood. But Vrindavan is not far from Mathura. How much time is it? By car, it is 30 minutes. Probably by cycle rickshaw, it is 45 minutes. And it's not very expensive either. So why is Krishna arranging all this? Why is he asking Uddhav to go? Krishna can ask Nanda and Yashoda to come to Mathura. That is more easier. Why is Krishna going this way? When he can ask his parents to come here, why is he going all around the place, asking Uddhav to go all the way? And we find there are various interpretations. There are various answers to substantiate this. And the first answer as to why Nanda and Yashoda were not asked to come to Mathura is we find Mathura is the place of luxury. It's a city. It's the place for opulence. While Vrindavan is the place for natural opulence. Vrindavan also has opulence, but Vrindavan is the place for natural opulence. Vrindavan has cows, it has butter, it has uneducated girls, it has pastures. So there is natural opulence. So the Brajavasis who are leading a very simple life, they will not be able to adapt in the royal ambience of Mathura. You see, if someone is living a very simple lifestyle, he will not be accustomed to live a very luxurious lifestyle. And at the same time, if someone is living probably in a 8 BHK or a 6 BHK, and if you ask him to come to a 1 BHK, it's very difficult to change because he's used to live in a very opulent house. Similarly, Mathura is very opulent, while Vrindavan is very straightforward. It's very small. There is natural opulence. So now if Nanda and Yashoda are asked to come to Mathura, they will find it very weird. They will not be able to adapt themselves in the luxury of Mathura. So this is the first reason Krishna doesn't call Nanda and Yashoda, because ambience is different. Both have opulence, but Mathura has luxury while Vrindavan has natural opulence. And second and most important, if Nanda and Yashoda come to Mathura, when Krishna says Maya, both the Mayas will come to him. Devaki Maya will also come, Yashoda Maya will also come. So there will be awkwardness for Krishna. When he says Maya, both Mayas will come. And now whom should he turn to? For Yashoda Maya, she considers herself to be the only Maya for Krishna. And likewise for Devaki Maya, she considers herself to be the only Maya for Krishna. And likewise, when he says Pitaji, my dear father, both the fathers will come. Vasudeva Maharaj will also come. Nanda Maharaj will also come. So we see Krishna will have awkwardness. He will not be in a comfortable situation. For this reason, dear devotees, these two reasons. First is the ambience, and second is the awkwardness. Because of these two reasons, Krishna did not ask Nanda and Yashoda to come to Mathura, but he decides to send Uddhava across. Many times this question is asked that if Vrindavan and Mathura are so close, why didn't Nanda and Yashoda come over? And these are the two answers. Because of the opulence, and second, because of awkwardness. Krishna will feel awkward. When he says Maya or when he says Pitaji, he will feel awkwardness. Both the parents will come to him. So we find that Krishna gives this instruction to Uddhava. And when Krishna was actually leaving Braj, the Braja Gopis felt so much separation from Krishna. They were burning in separation. And it took such a long time for Akrura to take Krishna and Balram out of Vrindavan. It's a straight route, but it took so much time because he was taking different paths. Because gopis were coming and lying in front of the chariot. Oh, Akrura, please don't take Krishna and Balram away. They would lie in front of the chariot. Krishna and Balaram are our life and soul. Please don't take them away from the land of Vrindavan. So at that time, Krishna, he asked Akrura to stop. And he turned towards the Braja Gopis and he said, Ayasyam, I will return. Krishna says, Ayasyam, I will come back. Don't worry. Let me go. I will come back. And similarly, in another place, Krishna asked Akrura to stop. And he told the Braja Gopis, Shigram, I will come back very soon. So because Krishna said Shigram to the Braja Gopis, over a period of time, that village in Vrindavan is called as Shi. It's called as Shigaon. It's called as Shigaon because the origin is Shigram. Krishna told the Braja Gopis, Shigram, I will come back very soon. Similarly, in another place, Krishna told his friends, Parso, I will come day after tomorrow. And that place in Braj is called as Parsomgaon. Parsom, Parsomgaon. Because Krishna said, Parso, I will come day after tomorrow. So the friends and the Braja Gopis and all the Brajavasis were not allowing Akrura to take Krishna and Balram away. So much priti, so much mamata, so much love. So we find that this love is not just exhibited by the Braja Gopis, but this love is exhibited even by the friends of Krishna. One time, when Krishna was leaving Vrindavan, he told his friend, because we see the friends would sit and have prasad together. We see in the Brahma Vimohan pastime, just before the Brahma Vimohan occurred, the friends were sitting together and having prasad. And this place in Braj is called as Bhojan Thali, extremely dear to the heart of my worshipable spiritual master, Srila Radha Govinda Maharaj. Bhojan Thali. It's the place where Krishna and his friends sit and eat. So if devotees have not been to this place, I highly urge and request to go to this place. It's a very beautiful place, so much so that because Krishna has had prasadam here, the imprints of his plate, the imprints of his glass, the imprints of his hand, imprints of his feet are all present in Bhojan Thali. Thali means a plate. So Krishna would sit with his friends in Bhojan Thali and he would eat. And so much so that one time, one friend, he sat down to have prasad with Krishna. And Krishna said, I have to go to Mathura. Akrura has come. I have to go to Mathura. I will not be able to have. You continue. I will come later and I will have with you. So that friend, he told Krishna that, Krishna, I will wait for you. Krishna said, I will come back by evening. Don't worry. By evening, I will come back. So he said, that friend, he told Krishna that, Krishna, I will wait for you. Till evening, I will not have anything. I will fast till evening, but only after you come, I will have something. So Krishna, he said, it's possible I may return tomorrow. The friend, he said, Krishna, I will wait for you till tomorrow, but I will not have anything. Krishna said, it's possible I may return after 2 days. Krishna, the friend, he said, Krishna, it's completely fine. I will wait for you. 2 days I will not have, but I will wait. Only when you come, we will both have prasad together. Krishna said, it's possible I may return after 1 week. The friend said, Krishna is absolutely fine. I will wait 1 week for you, but only after you come, I will have prasad. The Supreme Lord, he said, I may return after 1 month. And this friend said, Krishna is absolutely fine. I will wait for you for 1 month, but without you, I will not have prasad. Krishna said, it's possible I may return after 6 months. This friend said, Krishna, I will wait for you. Even if it is 6 months, I will wait for you. Krishna said, it's possible I may return after 1 year. The friend said, Krishna is absolutely fine. I will wait for you 1 year, but I will not have any anna. I will wait for you. I will follow the protocol of sitting with you and eating, but Krishna, I will not eat without you. And finally, Krishna said, it's possible I may never return back. And when Krishna said this friend had tears in his eyes. He said, Krishna, you started by saying that you will come back in the evening. Then you said you will come back tomorrow. Then you said you will come back in 2 days. Then you said you'll come back in a month. Now you are saying never, you will never come back. Krishna, please don't say this. This was like a thunderbolt to the heart of Krishna's friend. He said, Krishna, even if you never come back, doesn't matter. I will wait for you. The day you return, I will wait. Only that day I will have my bhojan, my prasad with you. Dear devotees, it's 5,000 years and this friend of Krishna is still waiting for Krishna to return. And this friend is none other than Puchirika Lota Baba in Govardhan. For those devotees who have done Govardhan Parikrama, the tail, the last part, the tail part of Giriraj, we will find this temple, Puchirika Lota. Poonch means the tail. So in the Poonch side, the tail side of Giriraj, we have this pastime. He is still waiting. अब अभी तक रुके हैं भगवान के लिए, अभी तक रुके हैं कि कब भगवान लौटेंगे. पुचरी का लोटा, कब भगवान फिर से लौटेंगे. When will my Lord return? It's 5,500 years, devotees, and he's still waiting with a plate of bhojan that my Krishna will return. So we find so much love the friends of Krishna have for the Supreme Lord. So now we can imagine what is the love of Maya, Yashoda, and Nanda Maharaj. And now we can imagine what is the love of the Braja Gopis. What to speak of Srimati Radharani, dear devotees. If the friend can wait for 5,000 years, what to speak of Srimati Radharani? How much separation is Srimati Radharani facing from the Supreme Lord? Krishna gave so many promises. We find even in Canto 10, chapter 39, in the section of Viraha Geet, which is the last section of when Krishna is there in Vrindavan. Krishna promised the Vrajavasis, I will come back. And the Vrajavasis, we see, when Krishna would go for Gocharan in the morning, when he would go for herding the cows in the morning, that few hours from morning 8 o'clock to evening 6 o'clock would be so much separation from the Vrajavasis. So much so that the Brajagopis would climb the terrace and they would strain their neck, and in the evening they would see when their Krishna is coming. So much love for Krishna. So we can imagine if 12 hours of separation is like a thunderbolt, what would have gone through their hearts when Krishna never returned? How much separation the Brajagopis were facing. And we say that our acharyas give beautiful interpretations. Why didn't Krishna go to Vrindavan? Nanda and Yashoda couldn't come. Okay, agreed. But Krishna could have gone to Vrindavan. Nanda Maharaj and Yashoda Maya cannot come to Mathura. It is agreed. But Krishna could have gone. It is only 30 minutes. Why is Krishna not going to Braj? And we see when Krishna killed Kamsa Maharaj and Krishna was taking Vishram, he was taking rest in Vishram Ghat. You see, Vishram Ghat is there in Mathura. Krishna was taking rest in Vishram Ghat. And at that time, Krishna heard a news. Krishna heard a message. And the message was Kamsa and Kalayavan and Dantavakra. They had all signed a deal. They had all signed a pact. The pact was if someone is attacked, the remaining two will join hands and will fight the person who has killed the third person. So now Kamsa Maharaj was killed by Krishna, and Kalayavan and Dantavakra and so many other demons, they came together to attack Krishna, to take revenge of Kamsa's death. And now Vrindavan, dear devotees, has no army, it has no weapons, it has no forts, it has nothing. The Vrajavasis are simple, they are cowherd men. So if Krishna goes to Vrindavan, Kalayavan and Dantavakra will attack Vrindavan, and naturally the life of the Vrajavasis will be at stake. The Vrajavasis don't know fighting. They are not Kshatriyas. They are Vaishyas. So they don't know any fighting. So if Krishna goes to Braj, the life of Vrajavasis is at stake because there is no weapons. So this is the first reason Krishna doesn't go to Vrindavan, because Vrindavan has no forts, it has no armies, It has no weapons. But this is an external reason. The internal reason why Krishna doesn't go to Vrindavan. We see this, for example, if I take $5,000 from Chirayu Prabhu, not that I have taken $5,000 and not that I'm going to take, but just for example, if I have taken $5,000 from Chirayu Prabhu, and Chirayu Prabhu, I tell Chirayu Prabhu that Prabhuji, I will return this $5,000 in 1 month. Prabhuji, with full trust, he gives me the $5,000. It's been 3 months and Prabhuji comes up to me and says, Prabhuji, kya hua? You took $5,000 from me. Where are my $5,000? And I tell Chirayu Prabhu, Prabhuji, I will give you. Just give me 1 month. I will repay it. It's 6 months and I'm still not able to repay that $5,000. It's 1 year and I'm still not able to repay that $5,000. Now, what will I do? Every time I see Chirayu Prabhu, I will have this fear that Chirayu Prabhu will ask me, Prabhuji, where is my money? Right? I will have this fear. Prabhuji may not ask from his humility, but still, I may internally have this fear that Chirayu Prabhu will look at me and ask for money. So now, naturally, what will I do? In order to avoid that question, I will leave that place. I will leave Cincinnati. I will leave Cincinnati and come to Seattle so that this question is not asked, that where is my money? I will run away from that place. Similarly, dear devotees, Krishna has taken so much love from the Vrajavasis. Krishna very boldly, he says, Ye yatha mam prapadyante tam stataiva bhajamyaham. Krishna makes a proclamation that he will reciprocate to the love. But dear devotees, Krishna is not able to reciprocate to the love of the Vrajavasis. He has taken so much love from the Vrajavasis that he is not able to repay. And what is the proof? The proof is after the Gopi Geet, Krishna himself, he says, Na parayeham niravadya samyujam swasadu krityam vibudayushapiva yama bhajandur jarageha shrinkalam samracharayatad pratiyati sadhunam. Krishna says, Na parayeham niravadya samyujam. He says, Hey Braja Gopis, I cannot reciprocate to your love even in the lifetime of Brahma. What is the lifetime of Brahma? We see in the second canto. The lifetime of Brahma is 311 trillion 40 billion years. Krishna says, Hey Braja Gopis, I can't reciprocate to your love even in the lifetime of Brahma. Krishna is openly saying he is not able to repay that $5,000 like prema. And it is for this reason. भगवान मुंह छुपाने के लिए भगवान वृंदावन छोड़कर मथुरा चले जाते हैं. In order to avoid his face, because he is not able to repay, he runs away from Vrindavan and goes to Mathura, where the Brajavasis will not come. Where the Brajavasis, because when Krishna looks at the Brajavasis, he is reminded of their prem. And that prem Krishna is not able to reciprocate. Leave alone, fulfilling their desires. So it is for this reason, Krishna, he runs away from Vrindavan and he never returns back to Vrindavan. But there is a very secret thing here. Srila Jiva Goswami, in his commentary, he says Krishna did return to Vrindavan. Now this is not given in Srimad Bhagavatam, but Srila Jiva Goswami in his Sandarbhas, he says Krishna did return to Vrindavan. After Krishna killed Dantavakra, Krishna very briefly, very quickly, Krishna returned to Vrindavan. He met the Braja Gopis and came back to Mathura. We see in the end of the 10th canto, Balaramji's return is mentioned. Balaramji came to Vrindavan. This is given in Srimad Bhagavatam. But Krishna's return is not given in Bhagavatam. But Krishna did return. Srila Jiva Goswami says, Krishna did return to the land of Vrindavan. So we saw multiple reasons why Nanda and Yashoda, we saw 2 reasons why Nanda and Yashoda are not able to come to Mathura. First reason was the ambience, the royal ambience. And second is Krishna will feel awkwardness. He will have 2 sets of parents. And similarly, dear devotees, we saw 2 reasons, one external, one internal, why Krishna is not able to go to Vrindavan. The first external reason is Vrindavan does not have army. It does not have weapons. It does not have forts. So the life of Brajavasis will be at stake if Dantavakra attacks. But the more esoteric reason, the more internal reason is Krishna is not able to repay to the love of Brajavasis. He very boldly proclaims that he will repay, but the Supreme Lord falls down to the ground flat, not able to repay to his dear associates, that is the Brajavasis. So two reasons why Nanda and Yashoda didn't come to Mathura, and two reasons why Krishna didn't go to Vrindavan. It is for this reason, dear devotees. Uddhav was chosen as a via medium. He was chosen as that personality who could take Krishna's message to Vrindavan and he could pacify the Vraja Gopis. We see that Uddhav is not a normal devotee. In the hierarchy, we saw that Uddhav is just below the Vraja Gopis. Now we see the message was for the Vraja Gopis and Srimati Radharani. And naturally in that hierarchy, after the Vraja Gopis is Uddhava. So for this reason, Krishna chooses Uddhava as the right personality. On top of that, we also saw two verses as to the position of Uddhav, as to how he is Brihaspati's only human disciple, how he is a Pravara Mantri, how Krishna calls him his own friend, and as to how Krishna gives him the message and tells him, you give this message as it is, the origin of as it is. Krishna tells him, you give this message as it is to the Braja Gopis. And we saw three reasons why Krishna calls Uddhav as Saumya, why Krishna calls him the moon. First reason was the moon gives cooling rays to dispel the external sun, the external heat that the sun has produced. Second, the moon nourishes the crops and pacifies our internal heat of hunger. And finally, we find the moon is also instrumental. The moon takes the light from the sun and gives it to the earth. Similarly, Uddhav, who's like the moon, is taking the message, which is like the light from the sun, who is Krishna, Krishna Surya Sama, and he is giving it to the Vrajavasis, who are like the earth. So in this way, we find the position of Uddhav and as to why Uddhav was chosen as that personality who will go to Vrindavan to give Krishna's message to the Braja Gopis. Finally, to wrap up, dear devotees, there is beautiful parallels that we find between Krishna Leela and Gaura Leela in this topic of discussion. First, we find Krishna, he left Vrindavan when he was young. Krishna was only 10 and a half when he left. Similarly, Nimai left Navadvip when he was very young. Second, Krishna left his parents Nanda and Yashoda. Similarly, Nimai left Sachimata and his wife. Same parallels. Third, we find Krishna goes to Sandipani Muni to gain education. Similarly, Nimai goes to Ishwarapuri to gain transcendental education. Fourth, we find that Krishna was in Mathura, so close to Vrindavan, yet separated. Similarly, Nimai or Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was in Jagannath Puri, so close to Navadvip, yet separated. And finally, dear devotees, the last point we find, Krishna sends Uddhava to pacify his parents, Nanda and Yashoda. Similarly, Nimai or Chaitanya Mahaprabhu sends Nityananda Prabhu and Gadadhar Pandit to pacify his mother, Sachimata. So we find 5 points of similarities, exactly similar in Krishna Leela and Gaura Leela. And here in this case, as in connection to what we are discussing, we find the 2 points are Krishna was in Mathura, close to Vrindavan, yet he was separated. Similarly, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is in Jagannath Puri, so close to Navadvip, but still separated. And Krishna here sends Uddhav to Vrindavan to pacify his parents, Nanda and Yashoda. Similarly, there, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu sends Nityananda Prabhu and Gadadhar Pandit to his mother, Sachimata, to pacify her. And of course, Mahaprabhu's wife. So in this way, find this is just an introduction to Uddhav coming to Vrindavan. All this while Uddhav has actually not even entered Vrindavan. All this while we have just discussed an introduction. What happens next, we will see in our later discussion. In the next session, whenever we will continue from the point where we left off. As I said earlier, this is a very deep discussion. And I think to do full justice to it, there are two ways of doing it. Either we just run through it or we go in depth. So in our first class or in the first session, we have just started. It's an introduction as to who are the personalities, and we have set the scene. Now, what happens when Uddhav goes there? What are his experiences? What are the personalities he meets? And what transcendental encounter he has with the Brajagopis? We will see that in our next session, whenever we have it. Having said this, I very humbly pause here. I will not stop, but I will pause so that we can continue from where we have left off. Shri Uddhav ki jai, Shri Krishna Bhagavan ki jai, Srimati Radha Rani ki jai, Shri Kartik Maas ki jai, Samasta Gaur Bhakta Vrinda ki jai, Shri Nitai Gaur Premanande, Hari Hari Bol.